Hey folks, I'm live here in San Diego. I'm doing this update on September forecast. Sorry, I'm a little disheveled here. Last minute getting this together. And I want to just let people know I'm going to be talking about each day in September. I'm going to go day by day. I did a larger overview of September where I talked about the important shifts and transits, very important changes that are happening in September. Overview, you can watch that video as well. I did that last week, I think. And this is going to be on each day, okay? And so as you see at the bottom there, scrolling, there's a thing for the nodes in Taurus and Scorpio, free web class that I've done. Some of you, a lot of people see these videos, a lot of new people. Go to that web site nodesintaurusandScorpio.com and you get a free video, a free webinar, 60 minutes, or it's actually more than 60 minutes, where I describe the the nodes in Taurus and Scorpio, and it shows where, for each of the 12 signs, it shows how you're likely to experience the shift of this, very important change starting at the end of September. You can see this is the website. If you just click that, nodes in Taurus and Scorpio for you, and all 12 signs. I also have, the history, like what happened the last time the nodes went through Taurus and Scorpio. Very transformative time. We had the Gulf War. We had other kinds of scientific advancements, even things like, viruses. This is when we had the SARS virus, the first one. Also through each of the nakshatras, I talk about that. I have some very important updates on the eclipses that are coming. One is coming at the end of the year in December 24th, I believe it was, or 14th. And then also remedies and practices at this time. So again, very important to connect with the next year and a half and the nodes through Taurus and Scorpio. Last thing, go ahead and make sure, if you're new here, to, where is it? Over here, subscribe, like, and subscribe, and get notified of updates here. Share the video with others as well. This is going to be very comprehensive. Every day of September 2020, I'm going to be talking about. So let me take a quick drink here and then get on it, start rocking and rolling here. Very warm here in San Diego. I'm loving the hot weather. One more drink here. I got multiple beverages. All right. So, let me take, I have Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto here because I wanted to look and see if there was going to be a big change relative to those outer planets, but there really isn't. So I'm going to take them off. We don't see big shifts there relative to them. So we start September 1st. You see that the moon is in. We see that the moon is in Aquarius. Now we're going to be, tracking the moon more than any other because the moon shift. It's the thing that changes each day. The moon moves into different nakshatras, and then every 2.5 days moves into different signs, different rashis. And so, I do daily forecasts. I've been doing daily forecasts for about 16 years. And of course, it's all based on the sidereal zodiac, the zodiac in Indian astrology, of course, where the nakshatras are aligned with the rashis. It's all nailed together. And in Western astrology, they use the zodiac based on the vernal equinox in the northern hemisphere. And they say that because that has a relationship to a resemblance to Aries and the first day of spring, they call that Aries. Of course, in the southern hemisphere, it's that same day is Libra, so it's a little tricky in that way. But in Vedic astrology, none of that exists. It's all nakshatras and rashis are aligned. Rashis are the signs at the same point. I say that because you maybe hear different explanations from other astrologers, Western astrologers, and you say, wait a minute, I thought the new moon was in Capricorn. You said it was Leo, Sagittarius or whatever. So if you're new, the sidereal zodiac is what we use, and that's again, in every Vedic astrology text, it's stated that way. So we start off with the moon in Aquarius in Shatabishak Nakshatra on September 1st. So this is Aquarius, which is about social awareness, our community, our our collective identity. And in fact, that is going to be a full moon. It's the full moon in Aquarius opposite the sun in Leo. So this first day, these first couple days with the moon in Aquarius is going to be a time to really connect with our community, with our culture, with our tribe. And very important. Now, the first day, September 1st, here in Shatabishak, that literally means 100 doctors, 100 medicines. And it shows where we need to find alternative solutions to the problems and the questions that we've come up against. Notice how society and culture is so confused. We need some new answers, some alternative solutions. And September 1st, that full moon, we're going to see a lot of those ideas. It's a great day for you to really show up and share and connect with your tribe in a way that advances the future that you want to see. Shatabishak, 100 doctors, alternative methods of healing and thinking on September 1st. September 2nd, the moon goes into Purva Bhadra, and this is where we're kind of leaving the world of culture and people and society and moving into a more metaphysical, cosmic nature. Purva Bhadra is between Aquarius and Pisces. It's mostly in Aquarius, but then it bridges into Pisces, where we become not just this person who is related to culture and a country and other parts of humanity, but it shows where we realize that we're not even of this earth, but we're actually a spiritual being, again, where Aquarius becomes Pisces. So on the 2nd, this is seen in Purva Bhadra Nakshatra, which is like this awareness, this lightning strike that comes into our mind and says, okay, but even if I save the world, I'm still not of this world. So this really has a lot to do with as we up-level our identity to have it be something more inclusive, at some point we also realize that we're in the world but not of the world. Excuse me. And so this shocking awareness and this transition from serving the world to serving something beyond will be important. For example, people who are just so hung up in all the politics and all that stuff nowadays, who define themselves by all this stuff in the world, they've lost their soul. They've lost their connection to something beyond this world. This is very important because this is one of the biggest problems we have even with trying to save the world or help each other is we've kind of lost our soul a little bit. We've tied all of our identity, even on a cosmic level, to this politics and things of the world and all the causes. Yes, they're important, but they're not who we truly are. Underneath it all, we're a spiritual being having a human experience on the earth, but we're a spiritual being. So this September 2nd, we're bridging that transition. September 3rd and 4th are going to be times when we feel that cosmic nature much more, hopefully. What happens is typically, and then, we see this because the moon is in Pisces, typically what happens is we sort of tune out, we sort of check out, and we kind of escape. There's a lot of escapism in Pisces because we don't know ourselves in that cosmic way. So we kind of spiritual bypass and kind of check out and tune into that sort of cosmic nature in a very unhealthy way through things like maybe drugs and alcohol and escapism, where we escape from reality rather than escape into the truth of who we really are, which is a universal transcendent being. So on September 3rd, the moon in Uttara Bhadrapada in Pisces is where we need to really make a commitment to our salvation on that level. And it also shows where we might escape from it into this kind of, again, externalized, empathetic, even kind of feeling, like of service, but almost being kind of, feeling subservient, almost like a doormat. Pisces can tend to feel like we're just wandering aimlessly, just getting, where we want to try to help, but everything is externalized. We need to internalize this Pisces nature and awaken the connection to our God consciousness, not just escape from all the pain of the world and then try to help in some confusing way. So Uttara Bhadrapada on September 3rd is great for service, commitment, really focusing our energy on not just external service, but our internal heart, and escaping into the truth, not away from our darkness, which is what we typically do. And then on September 4th, the moon is in Revati Nakshatra, still in Pisces. Revati is the shepherd energy, where after this long journey around the zodiac, the soul returns home. This last section of the sky is the most gentle and pleasant, and we just need to surrender into the arms of the divine, and that shepherd will lead us home. And so this is the last section of the zodiac, Revati Nakshatra, and it's a great day to, again, surrender. But this is also a great place for escapism. Again, instead of relaxing into the arms of the divine, which is a beautiful statement, we have our teachers and our teachings, and we want to kind of escape into some fantasy about it. That's not the same as surrendering into the truth. When you do authentic spiritual practices and meditation, and you've connected with that soul through what's called samadhi, and you commune with the divine, that's what we're talking about. Because when you start getting into that level, what happens is the ego rises up, and there's fear, because the ego is afraid of letting go. The ego is afraid of losing control. The ego is what gives you this illusion of control anyway. So you have this illusion of control through your ego, and you try to manage things. It's your ego doing this, not you, your ego. Make the distinction. It's not you doing it, it's your ego. The higher self is always behind there saying, please, ego, let go. Please stop. And let me surrender into my fullness, into my wholeness. And the ego says, but I'm scared. What's the ego scared of? Not being in control. So again, it's a very subtle thing where our job is to really dissolve the ego, the false self. So it's very big in Pisces, in the Pisces sign. And this last nakshatra of Revati is big in trusting and surrendering to the gurus and the teachers. And on September 4th, this is going to be big because that's the nakshatra. And it's actually even into September the 5th, the nakshatras don't, and the rashis, it doesn't change right away. It's because you can see that even halfway through September 5th, the moon is still in Pisces and in Revati Nakshatra. So half of the way into the 5th, we're also dealing with this Revati Nakshatra surrender. But then halfway through the 5th, the moon is going to go into Aries and Ashwini Nakshatra. So September the 5th will be a big shift. Watch that day. It's like starting over again. Boom. And the moon, let me move this forward a few hours so we see what happens. On the night of September the 5th, right? This is like 8 o'clock. This is like 8 p.m. Pacific time. On September the 5th, the moon is in Aries by then. Not 8 o'clock, and join Mars. So that would be on the Saturday night, September the 5th. There's a big shift from Pisces and Revati in the first part of the day, and then Aries, Ashwini, and Mars on Saturday night. So Saturday night, September the 5th, draw it up. It's going to be a big shift that day and that night. And so we should expect to see some pretty intense stuff. I'm going to put this back to around noon. Okay. And then, oh, dang. Okay. And then on September the 6th, which is the Sunday, again, the moon is in Aries again for the full day. So again, from September the 5th, Saturday night, September the 5th, and for a couple days, like through Monday, the moon is in Aries, right? With Mars. So again, September 5th through the 7th definitely will be some intense and fiery, couple of days. So you want to be careful getting into battles and struggles and things like that at that time, particularly because the moon has also joined Mars, right? So particularly in the Saturday night, September 5th, and then into Sunday, September the 6th, as you see, the moon is still pretty close to Mars. When you look up in the sky, you'll see it. Mars is getting really big because he's about to go retrograde. He's pretty slow right now in the sky, and he's pretty bright. So look up on Saturday night, Sunday night, September 5th and 6th, and you'll see Mars right next to the moon, big red. He'll be big and bright. And you know what Mars is about? Defending your boundaries, fighting for what you know is right, not just what makes you comfortable. But again, you have to be careful and you have to be intelligent about it, and fight with discernment, fight with intelligence, and don't fight externally. Don't fight external battles, fight internal against your own darkness, frustration, and ignorance. And it's really a good time to be disciplined and to do the things you know are right, not just fight or argue with people about them. So that's on the 5th and the 6th especially, and then into the 7th as well. You see the moon is still in Aries, and it's in Bharani Nakshatra. The first part, it's in Ashwini on the 5th and 6th. Ashwini is ruled by the 2 horses, so it's a lot of passion, power, invigoration, but it might be pretty scattered. So Saturday night the 5th, and then Sunday the 6th, there might be that scattered quality of Aries. But then on Monday the 7th, we have the moon in Bharani Nakshatra for the most part, and it's this energy of consequences and being more restrained and taking that raw power and energy of Ashwini, the first nakshatra, and the 2 horses, and Aries, especially now that Mars is there, and concentrating it more, being aware of all the consequences of our actions, of what we produce, because all that energy produces a result, and we feel that result in Bharani, and we have to. And that result restrains us in some way. We have to maintain that thing. And we have to bear the results of our actions. Literally, Bharani comes from the same words in English that means to bear. Literally, even like childbirth or bearing a child. This is the symbol. So on Monday, September 7th, we'll feel that need to bear the result of what we're doing. And then on September the 8th, the moon is in Taurus on the 8th, 9th, and 10th. So the moon in Taurus is in its exalted sign. So again, the exaltation sign of the moon means that our mind can feel more stable, peaceful, and grounded and settled. So we're not just reacting emotionally, and we can really sink into a deeper state of peace and contentment. And that's really the biggest quality of Taurus that exalts the moon, is that quality of peace and stillness and contentment. It's called santosha in yoga. Santosha is that divine contentment. No matter what you think you haven't acquired yet, we're restless because we think, okay, I have this, but not this, not this. Because we're trying to acquire, we're trying to expand and become enlightened. And there's something about getting more that feels like we're moving closer toward liberation, right? If I'm getting more money, or I'm more successful, or I'm getting more, that feels like I'm growing toward enlightenment. But it creates restlessness in us, especially if it's just external. The real thing to grow and the real thing to acquire is knowledge and wisdom, which is internal. But we can't do that, or we can't feel that, until there's contentment, until there's santosha, until there's stillness and peace. And that stillness and peace comes very easily in Taurus, or at least very naturally. So a couple days, again, 8th, 9th, and 10th, we have that lesson. On the 8th, it's Kritika Nakshatra, which literally means the cutter. Kritika means the cutter, where we cut through the illusion and the attachment and the stress and fear in the mind. And then on September the 9th, it's in Rohini, which is where there's growth and creativity. Again, first we have to cut away that which is an obstacle. Only when we cut away something, like, for example, make more time for something else, can we grow something. For example, we have to pull out the weeds in the garden before we plant seeds and grow flowers. So that's why the first section of Taurus is like cutting and pulling out weeds, Kritika, cutting this away. The second nakshatra, which is Rohini, which we experience on the 9th, is about growth and like planting seeds and having them grow. That's very much related to Rohini. And again, this is in the stable, solid earth. If the earth is moving all over the place, then nothing can grow. And again, think of the lesson of contentment and santosha that I just described. It means I'm solid and stable, and what I have is enough, and who I am is enough. I'm a divine being, and anything that I have externally, including my body, is all going to die at some point. It's all going to leave. I have no control over that, and I can be peaceful and content with that, because the only thing that's real is something internal. So aside from anything happening externally, we need to have that contentment, or else there's no peace. So again, we cut through the things that are making us restless, then we plant deeper seeds of truth, and they grow in Rohini Nakshatra. But then on the 10th, the moon is changing now between Taurus and Gemini, and the nakshatra is Mrigashira, which is the deer. And the deer is both a beautiful mammal, like a cow, like we have in Taurus. It's not a predator. It's not a dangerous animal that's going to attack you and eat you like a lion or something. It's a gentle animal, but it's also very fast and curious, like the sign of Gemini. So Mrigashira is that sort of portal between Taurus and Gemini, and we'll be feeling that transition a lot on September the 10th. And September the 10th is where that restlessness of the deer moving between Taurus and Gemini comes out. And that restlessness moving shows where we're not just supposed to be content with with where we are. The soul is always moving toward the next thing. And the deity here of Mrigashira is Soma, where we're searching this search for the divine nectar, the nectar of immortality. So we'll feel this search, and it's really this kind of searching from that place where we feel peaceful and contented to something else, right? This is why when the moon was in Taurus, that sort of peace and contentment often comes from our family or those things we've already learned, our values. But then from there, we go searching to expand. So on the 10th, we'll feel a lot of that expansiveness and that a bit of restlessness, but it's in search of the beautiful Soma, that elixir of immortality between Taurus and Gemini. So that's on September the 10th, we'll feel that transition. Then September the 11th, the moon is fully in Gemini on September 11th and 12th. And again, the sign of Gemini is very much about intelligence and information gathering and trying to understand the nature of the world rather than just believe in things. We want to know how things work, like the details. And again, the first part of that is Mrigashira, which is related to the deer. And you notice how the deer is very curious about its environment. Deer are very curious. It's interesting to see a lot of videos now with deer in them, and you see deer interacting with other animals like cats, dogs, almost anything. Deer are very curious. They want to go up and like, who are you? And they're not, as long as they feel safe, because they're not predators, they're prey. but they're a little skittish, but they're very curious. And so that was, on the 10th, there's a lot of that curiosity of Gemini. On the 11th, we see that the moon is in Ardra nakshatra, and Ardra is the nakshatra that has to do with, as we learn new information, we're ready to blow up and destroy whatever happened before. We're ready to say, okay, that's, that old paradigm isn't working anymore. And so it's related to Lord Shiva, that, the great destroyer and transformer. And this will be important, those qualities of Shiva on September the 11th with the moon going through Ardra. Interestingly, September 11th, 2001 had this same transit of the moon moving from Mrigashira into Ardra. So we have that same shift that day, and the moon has also joined Rahu here, which it could be quite a explosive day, by the way. We should be on alert a little bit. One second. And it's not because of that calendar date is significant, but it's because of what's happening. The moon crossing over Rahu in Mrigashira and then in Ardra. We could see a pretty, it could be an explosive day. There could be some violence or even some kind of strange, if not terrorist activity. There's so many things that go on now that could be considered terrorist, even explosions or, rioting and shooting or something like that. But definitely something like terrorist could also be happening in the world that day. Let's hope it doesn't. But it's that quality of Gemini that wants to understand and then blow things up, the way they were, we can, destroy if they're not working. That's the nature of Shiva. And this is right on the plane of the galaxy. So this is why Shiva, this like 6 to 10 degrees of Gemini and 6 to 10 degrees of Sagittarius is where the plane of the galaxy runs. And that's a very transformative section of the galaxy. It's the sun. The sun's heliosphere extends beyond our solar system and protects us from the radiation from the center of the galaxy and from the galactic plane. This is literally what happens. The sun isn't just bright in the sky, but again, the thing called the heliosphere extends beyond our solar system and stops the harmful radiation from the center of the galaxy from, being very harmful to life on Earth. So on September 12th, the moon continues through Gemini. It's in Punarvasu nakshatra. Punarvasu is actually, it literally means return of the light, return of the goodness. And it's, the deity is the divine mother, Aditi, the mother of the Adityas. And again, this divine mother energy is very akin to how a mother wants to teach her children, give them all the right information and details, and then take them into and really help them connect to the heart. This is why Punarvasu starts in Gemini, that goes into Cancer. So it's where all that information and curiosity has to be anchored in the heart. And so we'll feel that transition today on September 12th from Punarvasu into from Gemini into Cancer through Punarvasu nakshatra. And so again, it literally means return of the light. So after the intensity of the 11th with the moon in Ardra, ruled by Shiva and Rudra, that fierce stormy energy, the day after is Punarvasu, return of the light, return of the goodness, return of the heart space, like that sort of connection, like I said, to the divine mother growth energy. And it's really analogous to even when we have a deluge, like a downpour of rain, which is also related to Ardra. It's symbolized by a flood. After the flood, we have the most calm and peaceful day, right? The sky is clear, the air is fresh, and there's a lot of light. And also the soil gets replenished. after a flood. So it's that energy on the 12th of sort of restoration and rejuvenation. And then on the 13th, the moon is fully in Cancer, where it will also be on the 14th. Cancer is ruled by the moon. So the moon is in its own sign here, which shows a great connection to the heart, a great connection to our deeper feelings, our deeper, family, and, going deeper than just the emotional triggering. That emotional triggering can be excessive. For example, we can have, be too triggered for the next couple days on the 13th and 14th. But the benefit is if we can go beyond the triggering, we can sink into the heart. We can sink into that devotion, like a mother is devoted to her children. So that devotional possibility is really big on the 13th and 14th. Now, the 13th, the nakshatra is Pushya. Pushya literally is symbolized by the teats of a cow, like where a mother just selflessly nurtures, selfless love, not the transactional love like we have with our romantic partners and all that, but that selfless love. That'll be important on the 13th. And that really shows in things like traditional teachings and gurus, not about desire. What we really learn about Cancer is that it's a sattvic sign. And that means that we need to honor things where there's purity, like the mother's love for the child or our love for our pets or other things. There's a purity of that love where there's no expectation of reciprocity. That'll be important. Now, there are other signs where there is expectation of reciprocity. And in those examples, that's what we're trying to do. So on the 13th, Pushya, just that selfless love, not just to our children and our pets and our family, but to God. Devotion. This is the highest good. This is the real thing we're trying to learn. Our love for our children and our teachers and our pets connects us to love itself, which is our true nature. And that's expressed in devotion, being devoted to our teachers and our own salvation. So the best way to show that, again, is through things like meditation and bhakti, devotion. When there's devotion to your teachings and your gurus, there's no effort. You will easily do the practices. And then on the 14th, Aslesha has to do with that deep embrace of Cancer, where we get tangled up in the feelings in our life. Now, again, if we're tangled up in these emotions and desires, they can suck. We can get pulled down into this like whirlpool. If we're tangled up in devotion, we go right to the heart, straight to the heart. So that's why it's so important to be devoted to the right things. Rather than devoted to our pleasure and happiness, be devoted to a higher love. So then on the 15th and the 16th, the moon goes through Leo. And Leo is ruled by the sun. It's related to the king, like the king on the throne, giving vision. So the 15th and 16th, we have that nature where we're trying to feel that power of the sun to reveal the truth and the consistent actions that we want to take. On the 16th, did I say 15th and 16th? It's 16th and 17th. Or no, I'm sorry. It is 15th and 16th. Sorry. On the 15th, it's Magha Nakshatra, that part of Leo, which is literally the king on the throne. That king on the throne is the one with the power. And so how we use our power, whether for a force of good to empower others or as a way to kind of, feel powerful ourselves, will be important on the 15th and the 16th. On the 15th, though, it's also great to honor the true source of power, which again is our teachings, our wisdom, those who have come before us that have given us the great opportunities that we have. Again, whether it's our birth family or hopefully our cosmic family. On the 15th, really honor the teachings, the Pitris, the divine ancestors. And then on the 16th, Purva Falguni is the part of Leo which has to do with sharing our power, sharing our wealth even, and knowing that our true wealth is something that is not just in this localized body, but something that is transcendent. Our true power is bigger than just this local space-time. And in Purva Falguni, it's ruled by the god Bhagha, the god of delight, where we delight and joy in the power we have. We all have power. And we delight in having power. But do we delight in getting more power for ourselves by taking it from others? Or do we delight in sharing the power so that the kingdom itself can flourish and benefit? This is the real question here in Purva Falguni on the 16th. It's going to be very much about your relationship with power, how powerful you feel, and as a result, how much you empower others, how much you empower others through your, within your life and within your vision. Of course, a lot of the qualities of Leo has to do with our work and our career and our sacrifices. This is why we want our work and career and sacrifices to be something that empowers others. And if we feel like we're just taking from others, there's a crisis of contribution that happens. And we feel that in Leo. We want our contribution to be something that is enlightening to all. And we hear this rhetoric used all the time in politics and whatnot. There's always this higher purpose for everything politicians do. At least that's what they say, and they want us to believe it. This is why. Why do we think that's important? Because we all want to feel like we're doing something for a higher purpose. So share that higher purpose on the 16th. And make sure, but they all use the rhetoric of this higher generosity, which is the higher quality of Bhagha and Purva Falguni. But in actuality, most of what the politicians are doing is for their own selfishness. This is the equation of Purva Falguni. We see it a lot in this world now. All politicians are for the higher blah, 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 whatever. But actually, they're saying, so give me money, give me power. I want more power. That's the abuse of power of Leo. We see it a lot in Purva Falguni and what delights us. Yes, we're delighted to have power, but then what do we do with it? Try to get more or try to be generous? So then on the 17th and 18th, for the most part, the moon is in Virgo, and you can see that the sun is now moved in Virgo as well. And on the 16th, we have a new moon, which will be in Virgo. I'll do a full report on that. But 1 second. But on the 17th and 18th, the moon goes into Virgo. Now, this is where that power of the kingdom becomes organized into many different tasks in the sign of Virgo. So we take that sharing and that delight we have in sharing. Hopefully, we're running a good kingdom and we're actually sharing. But then we got to organize all of that properly with all these different tasks and skills. And that's Virgo, where we have to be precise. So on the 17th, the moon is in Uttara Falguni Nakshatra. It's the second of the Falgunis, which is where we take that delight in sharing and that joy, and we organize it in the most useful and beneficial way so that it benefits everyone. That's how that part of Leo becomes Virgo. Organization, friendliness, friendship, a good agreement. Not an agreement where we're taking advantage of someone, because again, we realize a good agreement needs to have both parties happy. Only a fool thinks that a good agreement is where I take advantage of you, because eventually that's not going to be sustainable, and it's going to disrupt the kingdom. So again, this taking the power and organizing it in the most efficient way will be important on the 17th. Notice how this happens in your life. And Uttara Falguni, the god called Aryaman, who has to do with contracts and also friendliness. He's usually paired with the god Mitra, the god of friendliness. And then on the 18th, the moon is in Hasta Nakshatra. This is the part of Virgo which has to do with taking things and structuring them in the most beautiful and practical way. So that's really the nature of Virgo, is to make things organized and practical and structured so that everyone can benefit from them. And And so in Hasta Nakshatra, we organize things in the most efficient way, the most beautiful way, so they can be shared. We notice all the details that everyone around us, or those details that are important for a beautiful, happy life, and we structure things accordingly. So Hasta literally means the hand. We use the hands to organize and structure things. And so this Hasta Nakshatra shows how we can bring great skill and organization into our world for the benefit of all. But we have to be careful not to get too attached to the fruits of our efforts. One second. The Gayatri mantra is very important here. The Gayatri mantra. Om Bhurbhuvasvaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yo Na Prachodayad. Tat Savitur Varenyam Savitur. Oh, I'm sorry. That was the. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm tripping out here for some reason. But Hasta Nakshatra is ruled by the god Savitur, right? And so it's that manifestation mantra and that nakshatra of manifestation. Then we have on the 19th and 20th, we have the moon moving from Virgo into Libra. This is where we go from that organizing things in a very practical, structured way to sharing them with everybody equally. Libra, where I have stuff I've organized, I have a kingdom, I've organized it. I've invited you over for dinner, made the food that you like, and I want to share it with you and have you enjoy it. Share it with you and have you enjoy it as Libra. But I also want you to appreciate that I went through all the expense of getting the food and cooking it and noticing that you liked it. So it's both. I want you to enjoy the thing, but I also want you to notice and appreciate that I did it. That's Libra. Right? That's different than Cancer, which was the selfless love, like the mother's love for the child. The mother just wants to cook for the child, whether the child appreciates it or not. But when the child starts to be old enough to understand, then the parent wants the child to appreciate it. It becomes like a Libra energy. So this is Libra, where Virgo becomes Libra. It's a transactional kind of understanding and wanting to share beauty with other people, especially other individuals. So the nakshatra that bridges that is called Chitra. And look, we're here at Swati. So this is one of those examples where in between the middle of the day on the 18th and the middle of the day on the 19th, we have Chitra. Watch, because if I go one day from Hasta and then 24 hours later, we're already in Swati, the next nakshatra. So this is what happens sometimes. I'll move this forward a few hours. And so the end of the day, it'd be right there. So this is specific time. So you just have to translate this for your time. But in the evening on the 18th to the middle of the day on the 19th, we have Chitra Nakshatra. All right, so in Pacific time, this is by like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. So I'll move this back to like here and we'll be good around noon. So from around noon on the 18th to noon to the 19th, it's going to be Chitra Nakshatra. And Chitra is that quality of between Virgo and Libra, where we have the order and the structure of Virgo with the passion of Libra. And we want to create a bridge. We want to create a beautiful thing, like maybe a beautiful meal or a beautiful piece of art, and share it, and then have others appreciate it. But maybe we also want to share a beautiful relationship and build that kind of structure. So this is Chitra. It's that bridge between Virgo and Libra. And it's in the middle of the 18th and the 19th. So the middle of the day of the 19th, the moon goes into Swati. Let me move this forward a day and move this back. So, now we're in Vishaka. God, this is bugging me. Hours, come on. Chitra, then it goes to... Sorry, it's like, yeah, so we're in the middle of the day here. It jumps again now from Chitra to Vishaka. Now passes over Swati. Okay, so again, the middle of the 19th to the middle of the 20th, the moon is in Swati Nakshatra. So this is the part of Libra that is about energy being concentrated, not scattered, because our energy tends to get scattered, and we need to concentrate it. And the deity here is Hanuman, who that's really the deity to pay attention to. The god, he was the son of Vayu, who is the god of the wind. So we need to channel the energy of the mind into and concentrate it so that it's not just like a bunch of monkeys running around. So the middle of the 19th through the middle of the 20th, we will experience that energy, where we need to harness that energy of Libra so that it's not just scattered all over the place into a powerful structure, where it's related to prana and the breath and literally like the power of the air and of the wind, which has to do with prana, yoga, breath, breathing exercises. Those kinds of things are really powerful. Middle of the 19th to the middle of the 20th. Then the middle of the 20th, the moon goes into Vishaka, which is in between Libra and Scorpio. So as you see here now on the 21st, by the middle of the day on the 21st, the moon has moved into Scorpio. So the end of the day of the 20th and then into the 21st, the moon moves from Libra into Scorpio. And it's in Vishaka Nakshatra. And so Vishaka is related to this ambition, this kind of personal ambition becoming universalized, so that it's not just about my relationships like in Libra as with individuals, but it's being shared with it's being universalized so that we can learn something from it. Like Libra to Scorpio is where the individual then becomes aware of their insecurities and vulnerabilities and wants to get greater control over those stresses and fears. So Libra brings us into contact with other individuals, and then there's insecurity and vulnerability. So we're going to experience quite a bit of that the 20th and into the 21st as the moon moves from Libra into Scorpio. And then on the 21st, the moon is in Scorpio in Anuradha Nakshatra. On the 21st and the 22nd, the moon is in Scorpio. And the moon is in its debilitated sign in Scorpio. It's where, again, we face our fears and vulnerabilities, and we want to try to manage them and navigate those stresses and insecurities. And we need to develop more compassion and devotion. So on the 21st and the 22nd, there'll be this potential for getting triggered and things like that. We also see that the nodes have moved at this time. So this 21st and 22nd, the moon is also joined Ketu in Scorpio. So what we can expect is, again, there's a deep probing possibility here. Because Ketu is in Scorpio, we're definitely going to be hyper-focused on those things that we're afraid can overcome us or that can overwhelm us. So the moon going there on the 21st and 22nd, again, you have to be careful getting triggered, especially even things like jealousy, explosiveness, toxic emotions. And on the 21st, with the moon in Anuradha Nakshatra, it's the part of Scorpio that's much more devotional and much more able to manage and deal with the toxicity of the emotions, especially through devotion, more devotional practices. Anuradha literally is related to Radha, who was the great devotee of Lord Krishna. So there's a great devotional quality on the 21st that you can tap into to your benefit. Again, rather than trying to fix other people or get frustrated with them. Have the courage to sit with your own toxic emotions. And that's what Scorpio teaches us, emotional courage. On the 22nd, the moon is in Jyeshta Nakshatra, which is ruled by Lord Indra, who is the king of the gods, and the king is the one who has the power. So it's where we have that emotional power, but we can again get into battles with others and feel like my emotions are king, and be attached to the emotions rather than to devotion. So on the 21st and 22nd, we need to be careful not to be triggered by all those toxic emotions as the moon goes through Scorpio. Then on the 23rd, we see that, the 23rd, the 24th, and halfway through the 25th, the moon is in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and it's that inspiring, devotional quality, especially devoted to our teachings and our teachers. And the inspiration that really comes, it's more religious, I would say, in that sense, Sagittarius is. So after the stress and worry and fear of Scorpio, on the 23rd, we'll feel more aligned because Sagittarius is inspiring, it's fiery, it's ruled by Jupiter. But that first nakshatra in Sagittarius is Mula, where we pull out by the roots. We pull out by the roots the toxic teachings. We pull them out by the roots and plant new seeds. So there's like a renewal and a rejuvenation on the 23rd, but it's also kind of uprooting, literally. So be aware of that on the 23rd as you plant new seeds of hope and truth. There's a disorienting quality to it where there might be some sudden and shocking changes. Then on the 24th, the moon continues and it gets very close to Jupiter, as you can see. We look up in the sky on the 24th. Jupiter just started direct, so he'll be big and bright in the sky as well. So on September 24th, Jupiter will be up there, very bright. And the moon has joined Jupiter in Purva Ashada Nakshatra. This is where we take those seeds that we planted in Mula and nurture them and water them. The god is called Apis, the god or goddess of the ocean. And it's where, through love and devotion, we nurture those seeds that we planted. We nurture those seeds, and we we want to grow the seeds that we planted. And so that's a big important lesson on the 24th. We can also tend to be a little bit blinded by our devotion, where we just believe and not test our beliefs. But it's very devotional in that sense on the 24th. And then the 25th, the moon is in Uttara Ashada. This is where we move from Sagittarius to Capricorn. And we move from Sagittarius to Capricorn by honoring those universal principles. It's not enough to just believe in things and feel inspired by our beliefs. We have to then put those beliefs into practice. We need to put those beliefs into practice and act upon them. And that's where Sagittarius becomes Capricorn. And so Uttarashada Nakshatra is going to be important there on the 25th. And it's where you'll notice that kind of harsh reality of putting into practice what you believe, not just thinking about it. As Sagittarius becomes, as the moon moves from Sagittarius into Capricorn. Oh, excuse me. I'll take a little drink. So the moon is also close to Saturn. Now you'll see it near Saturn and Jupiter on the 25th. But again, 25th, where we're moving from inspiration into implementation. 26th and 27th, the moon is in Capricorn. Again, this is where we put into practice those things. We work hard and apply the things that we've learned to bring about the right result. Again, it's not just about being inspired, it's about putting in the work and the effort. And so on the 26th, the moon is in Shravana Nakshatra, which literally means listening or hearing, where we listen to the truth of the cosmos, in our inner cosmos, actually. It's about silence and stillness and listening, going inward toward that inner peace. This is what Capricorn does, because it tends to silence us and make us, even though we're inspired by something external, we realize, oh, I got to do the work. And the work is the inner work, applying all that to our fears and our stresses and our worries, because that's what Capricorn is about. It's ruled by Saturn, which is where we're triggered by our fears and stresses and worries. So Shravana means we need to tune into that and listen to that stillness. Things like mantra and those kinds of practices are important on the 26th. And on the 27th, it's in Dhanishta Nakshatra. That's ruled by Lord Shiva and his drum of creation. It's another nakshatra that has to do with things like music and rhythm and creativity and creating our world based on our values. So again, based on our values, we're creating our world. And this shift from Capricorn to Aquarius is shown by Dhanishta Nakshatra, where we take our personal values in Capricorn and our level of spiritual concentration and development and our ability to have worked through our fears in Capricorn, and then we share them with the world. The things we share with the world are very much a kind of composite of how much we've worked through our own stuff. Just look online right now at all the stuff people are sharing on, because they're sharing it. That's really very much the Aquarius thing. And you can see how much they've really worked through their own stuff, which is the Capricorn, especially worked through their own fears based on what they're actually sharing. Like, I'm fearful and terrified, so let me share that with everybody. Big conspiracy and this thing, and they're all out to get us. These people haven't worked through any of their own fears. They're just projecting. So this is big in Dhanishta, for sure. So that'll be important on the 27th. Just looking at the end here. Yes. So, and then the last few days of the month, the moon is moving through Aquarius like it was at the beginning on the 28th. Shatabishak again. Shatabishak, look, it's almost showing up like on 2 days as Shatabishak. Yeah, so it's Shatabishak. So it's Dhanishta halfway through the 28th and into the 29th. And then Shatabishak in the middle of the day. Okay, so we'll just do it like that. So on the 28th and 29th, the moon is in Aquarius. And again, this is where we started as well, where we're looking to share with the world, looking to show up and share and serve. The last days of the month, at least the 28th and 29th. And those nakshatras of Shatabishak, which is finding alternative solutions, the 100 doctors, and also Purvabhadra, which has to do with a lightning strike that comes down and connects us to something beyond this world and connects us with that Pisces energy. Like I said at the beginning, those will be prominent on the 29th, on the 28th and 29th. Again, but now we're reconnecting with our community and our tribe with Rahu in Taurus and Ketu in Scorpio. By now, Mars has turned retrograde. Other things have happened. Jupiter has turned direct. Saturn has turned direct. Again, I talked about all these things in the other September forecast. This one, I'm just going through each day and the energy, but you can listen to them both. So again, on the 28th and 29th, the moon is in Aquarius again, where we're reconnecting with our tribe. And then on the 30th, it's in Pisces again, where we connect with our cosmic nature beyond this world, that metaphysical cosmic nature. You're in the world, but not of the world. And trying not to lose yourself in the world is important. And that last day on the 30th, the moon pokes its head into Pisces around the middle of the day. And it's time, again, to really reconnect with that highest self beyond this world and not just escape from the world, but escape into your higher self. So I hope this was helpful for you. Go ahead and share it with others. and do all of that. And we'll talk